Hi, I'm Helen and welcome to my channel. Today's class will be a yin yoga class for the lower body. So it will help if you have a couple of props, some yoga blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can always use thick hardback books, and a blanket will also come in handy. So when you've gathered your props, please come and join me on the mat in a comfortable seat. So I'm sitting with my hips higher than my knees. I'm sitting on a block and making sure I've got a nice tall spine. So come to a seat with a nice tall spine. Maybe release the palms down on tops of the knees. Shoulders are relaxed down the back. Chin is parallel to the earth. The windows of the eyes are closed and the arrows of attention are turning inward. And just start to settle here, feeling the support from the earth. Maybe taking a deep inhale and an exhale through the mouth, letting go of anything that's happened in your day before class or anything maybe you've got lined up afterwards. Just allow yourself to experience and enjoy this time here on the mat today. And bring the awareness to the parts of the body that are in contact with the earth. Maybe the tops of the feet, the shins, the sit bones. And then move that awareness up to the belly. And then to the navel. To the heart. Bring your awareness to the throat. Into the jaw and the tongue. Is it relaxed? To the third eye. Then to the crown of the head. Now focus on the space just above the head. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out, and then slowly flutter the eyes open. So we'll come into our first posture, which is half butterfly. So you may need to, depending on the openness of the hips, to sit on a blanket. May make it a little bit easier. Otherwise, extend the legs out in a straddle position. And then fold in the right leg into the groin area. So it's a bit like Savasana that we do in yang yoga. The extended leg is relaxed. Don't flex the foot, just let it lay there. Take an inhale, and then as you exhale, slowly round forward over this bent leg. So down the midline, and the hands will come to the floor or to a block, and just start to settle here and surrender. So in yin we have 3 principles. The first one is coming to an appropriate edge, so not too far too quickly, not too laid back, just somewhere right in the middle that you feel a challenge but you don't feel any pain. So that is the first principle, coming to the edge that's appropriate for your body. And be aware that as the pose progresses, the edge may move away from you, so you can move closer to it. So I can already feel that I can get a little bit deeper now and put my elbows onto this block. And the second principle in yin is stillness. So we don't want to fidget in the poses. We want to remain still, because the goal is to get deep into those connective tissues, to the joints, the joint capsules, the ligaments, the bones. We want to get into them, stress them, release them, and rehabilitate them. So when we remain still, that's when we really can have this focused stress on these areas. And it also includes stillness of the mind. And the third principle in yin is we stay for time, a duration. So these poses today, they are all going to be 3 minutes long. I have my phone here with the stopwatch, so if you see me playing with the phone, I'm not checking my notifications. I'm looking at the time, I'm setting the stopwatch. So we have actually about another minute left in this pose, so your edge might have moved a little bit away from you. And remember, blocks can be used in multiple ways. I can rest my head here and surrender and release. And in yin, we are targeting the connective tissue, so we're not really looking at the muscles. So this is why this extended leg is just loose here. I haven't got the foot flexed. I'm just allowing it to just be and surrendering deeper, getting into those sticky points that we have in our body. Take one long last deep breath here. And then using the strength of the hands, we slowly come out. Release this leg, so it might need some assistance. Just maybe rotate it a little bit in the hip joint. Bringing some life back. And then we fold in the other one. So coming to this comfortable position, you may be up on a blanket, and then gently we surrender forward over the midline. So coming to the edge that feels good, that feels a challenge, but not pain. Settling into stillness and letting go. So when we stress the body too much, and when I use the term stress, I'm using it in terms of physical rather than like a burnout, mental kind of frazzled stress. If we stress it too much, we get distress and we get injury. So this is quite common if you do a very active form of exercise. The opposite end to that is when we don't really stress our bodies at all, and we end up with atrophy. And then the meeting point in the middle, when it's just about right, is eustress. So if you think of it like the Goldilocks principle or the Goldilocks philosophy, we want to have that balanced part just in the middle that's just right. Using the breath. I don't know if you can hear my dog barking, trying to shut it out, focus on your own body, your breath. Taking one long last deep breath here. And then very gently, using the strength of the hands to push yourself back up. Maybe manually moving this leg out. Just bringing the feet to the floor, leaning back on the hands, and we'll windscreen wiper the legs from side to side. Moving through internal and external rotation. Always feels so good. We'll move into straddle, which is the next pose. So legs are extended wide. No muscle engagement in the legs, just allow the feet to flop. And slowly coming forward through the midline. So again, you may be starting up here, and this is perfectly acceptable. And then as you start to release and settle into stillness, you may find the body lets go a bit more, and you come forward a bit more. So it's always good with these yin poses to start away from your edge and gently move towards it as the body starts to open. We don't really want to force our body to its most extreme depths. It's much healthier to do it gradually and allow the tissues to release themselves rather than through force. So when you're in these postures, a good question to ask yourself is, what is stopping me going deeper? And it's one of two things. The first one is compression. So it may be skin on skin stopping you. It may be skin on bone. And it may be bone on bone stopping you going any further. So if it's bone on bone, you really have reached the end of your range of motion. And the other way that we are stopped is through tension. So looking at this position that I'm in, the compression would be from this area here. So maybe my belly against the thighs, maybe the femur bone in the hip socket is stopping me going any further. Or considering the back body, it may be tension in the muscles along the spine or in the lower back. So you can start to feel, maybe if you bring your awareness to what you're actually feeling. So I am actually feeling tension in the back body here. I can feel it. I can feel it in the glutes and the lower back. If you're feeling like quite a deep sensation, then it could be compression with the bone. So I can feel this is like surface tension that's stopping me. And taking one more deep breath here. Enjoying the last moments of this posture. And then very gently, using the strength of the hands, we come up. Maybe hands underneath the backs of the knees. And again, we windscreen wiper the legs. I said this in a class the other day, and the students were all from the States. And they said, it's windshield wiper. I said, oh, in England we say windscreen wiper. So the next pose is caterpillar pose, which is similar to a forward fold. So I'm going to maneuver over here. And again, you can have your seat up on a blanket if that feels good for you. So the difference between this and the yang version is, in the yang version we're often extending up here and leaning forward as far as possible. In caterpillar, we're just descending over. So blocks are handy here as well, because you can use them to like support you. You can have as much support as you need. and surrender and relax into it. So the feet are just released, the whole body is released, folding forward. So this is working on flexion in the hips, this forward flexion here, and surrendering down. So I think it really helps if you release into a prop. So I'm releasing into blankets and blocks. My body feels supported, and that makes it feel safe. So it sends messages to its extremities that it's safe to release. Sometimes students are reluctant to use props because they feel it's a sign of inadequacy, but it's actually, they will help your practice progress much quicker. And we all have different shapes and dimensions in our bodies, so someone with very long arms might never need to use a block. If you've got shorter arms, a block will bring the floor closer to you. So never be afraid to use props. Embracing stillness, quietening the mind. Take one long last deep breath, and then very slowly, using the hands, come back up to seated, and just lean back. Maybe keep the eyes closed. Open in the front of this hip joint here as a counter stretch, and then just maybe rocking and rolling the femurs in the hip sockets. Moving on to the next pose. So the next pose is frog pose, which is a lateral abduction of the hip. If you're aware that one of your hips is tighter than the other, one thing you can do in this posture is, so for me, my right hip is tighter than my left. You can place the blanket on that side of the mat. If you've got equal hips, then you can do frog pose this way, so you've got cushioning that way. Otherwise, whatever side that you find is tighter, bring this knee onto it. And in this posture, we keep the feet at 90 degrees and the knees are at 90 degrees. And then bearing the weight on the hands to begin with, we allow the knees to spread apart. So you'll soon find that this is quite an intense pose. And The further forward your hips are, the less challenging it is. The further back is when you start to feel a lot of sensation. So again, you can use blocks underneath the hands. Once you start to get into this position, we'll just start to settle. So the reason I have this blanket under my right knee, because my right hip is a little tighter, because it can slide on the floor, it allows a little bit more release. So just surrendering and breathing here. Remembering you can always back out if it's too intense. Remembering that everything is temporary. And this posture will end. So we very rarely actually do this movement in our yang yoga practice, unless you practice side splits. We don't usually have this this movement, this lateral abduction. If you do goddess pose, that is kind of like a standing frog. So if you're finding this very intense, it's often because we don't really do this, create this shape in our body. So your edge may be getting a little bit further away from you. I can feel my right knee moving outwards. Remember, if it's too much, you can always back off. You don't want to cause distress. You want to be in the Goldilocks position. We do have less than a minute here. So focusing on long, even breaths. Take your final breath in this posture. Nice deep inhale, deep exhale, and then very gently start to bring the knees in. So maybe bringing the weight forward, and then coming a closed-legged child's pose. This is the counter pose. Bringing the seat to the heels. Head can come down, maybe stack the fists, or you can use your block to support the forehead. And just surrender here for a moment. Arms can be in any position that feels good. That was a very deep posture. It might have stirred something up in your mind. It's said that we store our emotions in our hips, so when we do these deep hip openers, it can bring some stuff up. And then when you're ready, we'll slowly come out. We'll move into shoelace pose. So again, the blanket may come in handy under the hips, depending on the openness of your hips. So I will mirror you here. We'll start with the left leg extended, bringing in the right leg, and it folds over the top of this extended leg. So this is actually half shoelace, so the knees are stacked. Both sit bones are on the floor. So this might be your position. If you have quite free hips, you may swing this leg back. So both are folded in, sit bones are on the floor and the knees are together. So this is a very intense pose for me, and every day I do it, it's different. You don't have to do the full shoelace, you can do half shoelace with one leg extended. If you sit upright, your center of gravity is over these hips, so it's more intense. If you come forward, then it can be a little less challenging on the body. So pick what position feels good for you and just start to settle here. If you have the leg extended, just allow it to be relaxed. Don't worry about flexing the foot. Just breathe and embrace the stillness. There is about another minute left of this pose. Take one long last deep breath here. And then we'll slowly come out, super slow motion. Using the hands to unravel those legs. And then planting the feet, windshield wipering from side to side. Mega slow motion. Getting some circulation back, movement, some life back. That's a pretty intense posture. And then when you're ready, we'll move on to the other side. So this time, the right leg is extended. We bring the left leg over the top. Maybe stacking those knees. This could be your shoelace. Otherwise, if it's in your practice, you can bring this other leg back. Trying to get both sit bones on the earth. And settling here. So picking the upper body position that feels good for you. For me, it feels better to lean forward. Maybe creating a tower of blocks to help you. Stilling the mind. Stilling the breath. Maybe observing if there's any places you can release more in the body, the shoulders. Are you gripping in the feet at all? Another minute left here. If you've ever heard of a New York minute, which is a very quick moment in time, they say it's the time from when a Manhattan traffic light turns green so the person behind you starts honking their horn, telling you to move. A brief moment in time. In Yin, we don't have these New York minutes. I like to call them sloth minutes because they seem to last for an eternity. Take one last long deep breath in this pose, enjoying the very last moments of it. And then when you're ready, just slowly come up. Rocking back, releasing these legs one by one. Super slow motion. And coming back into this windscreen wiper. Counter pose. Feels so good. And we move on to the next pose. So the next pose is half saddle. So I'll just quickly demonstrate. So with saddle pose, your seat comes between your heels. And this involves an internal rotation of the hip joint. So if you see here, I've closed my knee completely. So my knee's in flexion. And I'll be rotating from the thigh, so the inner thigh is rotating inwards. The knee doesn't move. So it's important because this pose doesn't twist your knee. The knee is closed, it's a hinge, so it only works on one plane, and the movement comes from here. So bearing that in mind, we come with the knees directly underneath the hips. The feet come out, this is on like a diagonal, pushing the flesh of the calves out of the way, sitting between the heels. So you may think, wow, that is too low down. You can put this block here. Or if the block is a little high, you can always use the blanket. So this is saddle pose, but we're going to move into half saddle. So my right leg will remain closed, lean back and release this left leg. So this might be the position. So the intention of this pose is to open the front of the hip here. So we're moving into extension. You may stay here or come back onto the elbows or onto a block. So again, remembering that each pose can have several stages as the body starts to open. So you might start here. So if you're sitting on a block, I don't recommend leaning back. If you've got the blanket on quite a low level, it might feel okay. And as the body starts to open, maybe you can release down further and come all the way down onto the floor. The arms can come overhead, and I like to place my thumbs together and my index fingers together, forming like a diamond, and then the arms are in a diamond shape as well. And just surrender, release here. So we're open in the front of the hip. This is a deep quad stretch, a deep knee flexion, and it's also stretching out the top of the foot and the front of the ankle, so it's pretty intense, and it's also a mild back bend with extension. So it's a big pose, a lot going on. But we'll be here for a few minutes. So just tune into the breath, lengthen in the breath, allowing release in the body and mind. Not being attached to what the shape looks like. In our yoga practice, we embrace abhyasa, which is effort, and vairagya, which is non-attachment. Taking the final deep breath here. And then when you're ready, if you're all the way back, gently releasing the arms back down by the sides, coming up onto the elbow, and then onto coming upright. We're releasing this right leg, foot flat to the floor, and straight into the other side. So this left leg comes back, remembering that principle of the internal rotation of the thigh. And then we start to settle back into this half reclined saddle. So maybe coming to the elbows to begin with. And then if it feels good, you can come all the way down. Maybe arms up ahead in that diamond shape. The right foot is flat to the earth. Closing the eyes. And just observing how you feel in the body. Notice if you're clenching your jaw. It doesn't need to be clenched. Deep breaths. Softening into this stillness. You have about one more sloth minute left. Take your final deep breath in this pose, enjoying the bliss. And then very gently start to bring the weight onto the elbows, pushing yourself up, releasing this left leg, and then we'll come over the knees, coming into tabletop, hands under shoulders, and just extend one leg back, rocking backwards and forwards on the toe, bringing some life back into the foot and the ankle, life back into the leg, and then the other side. And then we'll come back down onto the back for twisted roots. So this is a reclined twist. Bring the knees up into tabletop, and the right leg is going to cross over the top of the left. So this is an adduction. So the leg is coming to across the midline. You can double wrap like eagle, arms out to cactus, and then just gently allow the legs to fall over to the left side. Both shoulders are on the floor. It may help to lift the head and then turn the head and the neck in mid-air and then look over the right shoulder. It can help with the twist in the neck a bit deeper. Quite often when we think we're twisting the neck, we're just rotating the head on the top two vertebrae. So if you start to bring your awareness to the neck itself, when you're rotating and looking over your shoulder, see where the movement is coming from. If you bring your awareness to the base of the neck, then that can rotate rather than just rotating on those top two vertebrae. Take the final breath. Nice inhale and exhale. And then when you're ready, very gently come back to the midline, untwist your roots, Bringing the knees into the chest, giving yourself a little squeeze. And then we'll move on to the other side. So crossing the left leg over the top of the right, maybe double wrapping. And then allowing these legs to fall over to the right. Maybe lifting the head, looking over the left shoulder as you gently place the head down. And surrendering here. Taking one last long deep breath here. And very gently coming back to the midline, untwisting those roots. Bringing the knees in one by one into the chest, giving yourself a little hug. Maybe rocking gently side to side on the sacrum. We've now reached the end of our practice. Maybe a few knee circles in one direction and then the other. And in your own time, release one leg at a time out onto the mat. Let the feet flop open, palms face upwards, arms down by the side, shoulders tucked down the back. Back of the neck is long with the chin slightly tucked. Jaw is relaxed. Tongue is relaxed. Face is relaxed. Eyes are closed. Whole body just melting into the earth. Now is the time to absorb the benefits of your practice. Savasana. Just start to bring your awareness back into the room, maybe focusing on the closest sound that you can hear. And wiggling the fingers and toes, maybe a couple of wrist circles, pointing and flexing the feet. And then if it feels good, even interlacing the fingers overhead for a full body stretch, putting the arms away and the feet away. And knees come in one by one into the chest. Last little squeeze. Now is the time to thank yourself for coming to class. You've done so much good in your body today. And then when you're ready, just roll over onto your favorite side, maybe using the hands like a little pillow under the cheek. And then when you're ready and it feels good for you, slowly push up to a comfortable seat, keeping the eyes closed. Maybe bringing the hands together in prayer at the heart center. Take a deep inhale, deep exhale through the mouth. Let it all go. Thank you for practicing with me today. I hope you feel pretty good in the body. You've done wonders for your mind as well, and for your nervous system. It should be feeling pretty chill now. Thank you again for practicing with me, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that class. If you'd like to practice live with me, I'll be doing some online live classes. You can find the link below this video to my website where you can sign up for them. They'll be delivered over Zoom, not YouTube, and they're happening towards the end of October because I'm very soon going on a trip, so I won't be here. But when I come back, I'm looking forward to practicing live online with all of you. Thank you.